G'day everyone and welcome to Lecture 5 for BMA 703 Entrepreneurship. What we're going to do in this lecture is just talk briefly about the process of identifying and analysing opportunities. So one of the key things in the entrepreneurial process is the ability to be able to identify new opportunities. And for organisations or individuals to have processes in place which really help and facilitate the way that they might identify these opportunities. Now, one thing I will say up front is that in the lecture, I'm actually going to talk a lot about international entrepreneurial opportunities. The readings that I've put up onto Milo talk a lot about entrepreneurship and opportunity analysis within a existing market or context. But I really just wanted to say a few points about the international aspect, because I think today, whether we like it or not, businesses tend to be born global. And so therefore, it's likely that entrepreneurs will be engaged in an international process of entrepreneurship from day one of the startup process. So we will spend a lot more time talking about that than we will actually talking about the process of opportunity identification. So I want to start off with this notion about the importance of ideas. And when we think back to the definitions that we talked about what is entrepreneurship and what role does entrepreneurship play in an organisation, we said that the search for new ideas and opportunities is a central component of the entrepreneurial process. So really what defines something as entrepreneurial or innovative is its newness, and this fact that no one else has been able to identify these ideas or opportunities previously, and so as an organisation you're able to gain advantage by being the first to identify these things. And what we know is that entrepreneurs constantly seek to challenge the status quo. Okay, they're not happy with the existing ideas and opportunities that they see within their current marketplace. They accept that those opportunities are present for just about everyone in the industry, and so we can't afford to be too singularly focused on those particular opportunities. Instead, what we need to do is to come up with new ways of viewing markets and customer problems so that we identify a different opportunity from our competitors. And many entrepreneurs are able to get an advantage because they're simply able to conceive of a market in a slightly different way from what all other organisations in the market are. And by doing that, by conceiving of the market in a slightly different way, what that does is actually open up a whole new market segment. So for example, a classic example of this is FedEx. So when FedEx looked at the freight services in the United States, what they realised is that there was a share or a segment of consumers who were looking for overnight parcel delivery, and also for the ability to be able to track that parcel so they knew exactly where it was at any one point in time. And so by coming up with a business model that was anchored around certain key distribution hubs, FedEx has been able to deliver consistently for their customers this promise of overnight delivery. And extensive amounts of effort amongst entrepreneurs is dedicated to the process of idea generation and opportunity assessment. So they do tend to spend a lot of time thinking through their opportunity set, looking at what things they could possibly do as an organisation, and trying to come up with new ideas that might challenge the status quo. And so it's a really effective part of the entrepreneurial process. So extensive effort is really dedicated to this process of idea generation and opportunity assessment. Now, it's important that when we think about entrepreneurial activity, that we think about what we mean by an opportunity. Okay, so an opportunity is really an idea that, if realised, would provide a significant added value for the company. And so what we're talking about here when we talk about the search for opportunity is really the search for ideas that are linked to new value creation activities. And so part of what you need to do as an entrepreneur is to be constantly thinking about all these different ideas that we might put forward. Now, it's also important to remember here that not every good idea is an opportunity, okay? Because for an opportunity to be able to be leveraged, what we need to be able to do is ensure that we have the resources and capabilities necessary to take advantage of that opportunity. So while you might come up with a stream of lots of good ideas, it's actually quite difficult for an organisation to constantly think of and come up with a range of new value creating opportunities. And so the challenge we face then is to think very carefully about where new ideas come from. And I'm going to talk in the second part of this lecture about some of the sources of ideas and where we might get these ideas and how we might translate them into opportunities for the organisation. And we also need to think about how we assess if these ideas are any good. And really, when we think about this, what we're trying to do is to marry up the idea and the opportunity against the resources and capabilities we have as an organisation, or the resources and capabilities that we're able to leverage and access as an organisation at any one point in time. And so by doing that, we're able to achieve some sort of competitive success for the organisation. And if you go back and think about the entrepreneurial process, and I quite like this model, it's a model that was developed by an author called Timmins. And Timmins really puts opportunity at the centre of what the entrepreneurial process is all about. We have to identify what our opportunities are. Okay, so we need to think about what opportunities are present for the organisation. We then need to marry those opportunities up with the resources that we as an organisation possess and are able to leverage and use as an organisation. Okay, so remember, there's often lots of resources out there, but we don't always have equal access to those resources. And then we need to make sure that we have in place the right sort of team, the right sort of people to be able to take advantage of that entrepreneurial opportunity. And so by fitting all those together and leveraging into the founder and the environmental context in which we compete, we're able to identify the sorts of ideas that we can turn into new value creating opportunities. And so again, opportunity identification or idea assessment is a very critical part of that entrepreneurial process. So we talked about one of the challenges in this idea generation opportunity assessment process being the need to be able to determine whether an idea is a good opportunity. And so what we need to do is to come up with what's called an opportunity assessment plan. Any organisation that's looking to, or any individual that's looking to regularly generate new ideas and to turn those into marketable opportunities needs to have some sort of frame of reference where they can actually make regular assessments about whether that opportunity is going to be realised. So to succeed, it is critical that an organisation really has an effective opportunity assessment plan. And that plan should provide a clear overview and assessment of the relative worth and value of those different ideas. And so what they'd be looking at in that process is again an assessment about how the ideas and opportunities stack up against the resources that we possess as an organisation. We know that this plan is designed to assess the market potential and profitability for any new idea that we might have as an organisation. So organisations are constantly trying to generate new ideas and not just one idea and then that's it. So what I want to do is just quickly run through the sort of structure we might see of an ideal opportunity assessment plan. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule. There are different models you might use, but this just gives you a bit of a quick summary of the sort of framework that you might use to assess an opportunity. So the first thing is we have to think about the idea itself, and this is really the process of identifying. And what we're doing here is trying to make an assessment about the uniqueness of the idea. Okay, so how unique or different is this idea from other ideas and opportunities we see in the market at any one point in time? And when we're thinking about uniqueness, we're thinking about it in terms of its unique selling proposition. If we're able to take advantage of this opportunity, what does it enable us to do that no other organisation in the industry is able to do? If that opportunity, if that idea is rare, then that's really, and it looks like it might be linked to high levels of value, then that really does indicate to us it's something that we should consider and look at. We also want to be pretty brutal in assessing the availability of competitive products. Are there other products out in the market that currently take advantage of this opportunity or could in the future be linked to satisfying the need that's linked to this particular opportunity? So again, we've got to be pretty critical at not just assessing what we're looking at doing, but what the others are doing and what other new products they might come up with. And we need to think about the companies that are also in the product space or might come into this product space in the future. Because again, what we're trying to do is to say to ourselves, okay, here's something that's unique and different. And we're going to expend a lot of energy, a lot of resources, a lot of time as an organisation on taking advantage of this opportunity. So we need to know that there's going to be a period of time when we can actually get advantage over other organisations. And so a thorough and detailed assessment of the other companies in the market, their likely strategies and activities, is going to be really critical for us in being able to take advantage of that opportunity. Once we've done that, once we've looked at the idea itself, we need to now, in the second step, focus on the market. All right? The idea is a great thing, but is there actually a market out there? Is there actually a group of customers who are willing to actually purchase this particular product? And this is quite difficult to determine, particularly if the idea is something completely new or radical that hasn't been seen previously. And so again, what we're looking at here is, what is the potential size of this market? Okay, where is it located? Is it all in one place, or is it spread across a number of different geographical regions? How easy is it going to be for us to service that particular market and to be able to satisfy that market's needs in some meaningful and effective way? We need to think about not only the size in terms of the number of consumers, but also in terms of its profit potential. Simply having more potential buyers doesn't necessarily mean there's more profit, because they might not have access to the money or income required to actually purchase that product. So we've got to be, again, pretty thorough in our assessment there, and probably be a little bit pessimistic about the overall size of the market. Again, people tend to shoot too high and actually over-assess the market size. We need to think about the trends of that market. Is the market, is it growing? Is it decreasing? What's impacting on its overall attitude towards consumption and purchase at any one point in time? And so by having a detailed understanding of those trends, and by looking at the behaviour of that segment over time, we're able to get a richer picture of what that market is likely to do in terms of responding to our products. We need to think about the characteristics of the market, again getting a bit of a profile of what the market actually looks like, and trying to get a very clear picture in our head of what the different segments are that are present in the market. So are we going to try and reach multiple segments with unique product offerings, or are we just going to look at niching and actually target a small group of consumers in the market? And again, we really need to be focused on growth rates. Is this market likely to grow in the future? Is it likely to be more and more profitable over time? Or is the market going to contract, and will that create problems or issues for our organisation? So again, we've got to be really thorough in assessing what those growth rates are likely to be. Once we've done that, the third section of what we need to do focuses on the entrepreneur and their management skills. Okay, so we need to make a thorough assessment of the individual or the team that will be actually driving the entrepreneurial process, and thinking about do they have the abilities required to take advantage of this opportunity. We'd also add into this section here a detailed assessment of our resource profile. Okay, so what are the resources that we have available to us? Now, when I say available to us, I don't necessarily mean just the resources we own. Sometimes organisations are able to leverage other people's resources to take advantage of market opportunities. For example, you might have a very strong relationship with a venture capitalist who is willing to support and endorse your ideas over time. And so what you'd be able to do then is to say, okay, well, our focus needs to be on actually targeting this particular group of customers and ensuring that we have the finance in place to actually achieve growth in this market over time. And then sitting down and talking to our venture capitalists to see that they're willing to actually invest in our organisation. We also need to think about other resources. Do we have the people that we need? Do we have the manufacturing expertise and design skills that are necessary to take advantage of this market opportunity? And again, I really encourage you to be quite brutal here in your assessment. The fourth section really develops for us a timeline of when we're going to try and take advantage of this opportunity, and the steps that we're going to take to successfully launch our new venture. Okay, so it really does give us a bit of detail about how we're going to go about taking advantage of the opportunity. And that's really critical because, again, you'll need to use that as part of a guideline to actually inform the planning process. And just to round out this first part of the lecture, I just wanted to link that notion of ideas and the importance of ideas back to the innovation process itself. Again, ideas and opportunities are really critical in innovation, and many people would say that innovation is all about taking an idea and turning it into an opportunity for the organisation. And really, the innovation process can be simplified down into 4 steps. The first step is with search stage. Okay, so this involves us looking for opportunities, going through a process of trying to identify which opportunities represent the best potential for our organisation. Again, what we're trying to do here is encourage as many opportunities as we possibly can. We don't want to eliminate things too early in the process because we don't want to close off opportunities. We don't want to miss out on something that may emerge as an opportunity in the future. Once we've searched, we need to select. Okay, we need to focus on which particular ideas we are actually going to take advantage of. Okay, so we look at the different opportunities before us, we find the ones that we think are most suitable, and we'd use that process we just talked about in terms of evaluating those opportunities, and then we'd actually select one. Or maybe 2, 3. We want to have some, different things going at the one time. Often we try and avoid just being singular and looking at one. We then need to implement our strategy and try and make sure we deliver on that particular innovation process. Okay, so we need to ensure that we're able to, over time, take advantage of that opportunity and to come up with a product that we can put into the market. And then we need to be able to capture that value. So we need to be able to ensure that we have the right sorts of marketing processes in place that enables us to reap the benefits we've been able to generate through coming up with this new market offering. So that's a little bit about the opportunity process and what the opportunity process is. What I want to do in the next part of the next lecture is talk about the different sources of information and discuss where that information may well come from.